Okay, so we are live. While we wait for people to jump in, I think it is also important to keep going and then I'll permit as and when people jump in. So this week's call is a continuation of last week when we spoke about dopamine, the effects of dopamine, kind of an addictions, and then today we will see how can we overcome using certain very uh, unique distinctions that we can look at ourselves. Without these tools it will not be possible for us to get a validation, because in the heat of the run we may be missing a lot of things to notice. That includes both our physiology and emotional and people around. So it is important to have these tools in place in life when it comes to productivity. So I'm going to share my screen. If you've already been part of the previous episodes, you'll be able to connect the dots very easily. Otherwise, if you're watching the recording, it'll be good for you to go through the previous recordings, and then see where we stand right now, because we have traveled quite a bit from, I think, more than 10 calls, 10, 20 calls, 10, 12 calls we have done on the topic of productivity. Now, it is equally important for us to get the ball rolling, because productivity means getting into a practice of building consistency. That's the whole secret when it comes to productivity. So, when it comes to health, it is moderation. That's the key. When it comes to relationship, intimacy is the measure. When it comes to productivity, consistency is the measure. With that note, I'm going to share my screen. Just let me know if this is visible for you. Okay. All right. So this is a mind map for people who do not know how this works. This is an excellent tool for productivity. This organizes our thoughts and give us a structure to our thoughts, because we have constant chatter in our mind and it goes random. Being a mother, being a homemaker, and also working, juggling, it's quite difficult. It is humanly, getting difficult. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but then that's how we're all designed, because we are in the world of distractions. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about it today as well. So this mind map is, I've been using this for 4 or 5 years now, to organize, not just on my professional learnings and context of what I want to teach. It is also useful for my personal note taking. I'm a pretty I'm a fanatic when it comes to certain apps in my phone. Of course, I have a very few apps. This is what we discussed in the previous episodes. So there is Notepad, which I cannot live without. There is a mind map, which I cannot live without for my business. And for my Notepad, I take each and everything comes to my mind. I take it as a topic in my Notepad, and I categorize into business or personal. Even under personal, there's a lot, right? For my daughter, separate folders, because she deals with school and classes and her own interest areas. Similarly with my spouse, and for my own self, and with my extended family, for my community. And when it comes to business, there's a whole lot of things. So essentially, it is all driving down to how organized we are in our mind, which gets translated into, I mean, we must take the advantage of technology which is available, but then too much of use of technology is again leading us to have a very poor lifestyle habits. That is also connected to what we have been discussing when it comes to distractions. How we have been overusing a lot of aspects in our life. Okay, without further ado, I'm just going to give you a snapshot as to, this is usually what I do in the beginning, to let you all know what is it you will get from this kind of a series of calls. This series of calls is dedicated to specific topics, which is useful for moms like you and me to develop our personality traits, build our confidence, build our awareness around us, and also use this for either career enhancement or professional enhancement. Like if you want to get into an employment after a long time, you need to upskill yourself, both technically and personally, and also with outside world. What is the trend and how are we filling the gaps? And it is also important for a business person like me, and any aspirant entrepreneur who wants to do something from online, sitting at the home comfort of your home. You don't have to travel. You don't have to leave your kids to daycare, or you don't have to necessarily worry about a lot of things, because you're just 2 rooms away. So how we would manage our time, energy, brain power, relationship, emotions, both erupting in us and, outside us. So we're going to dissect all that into topics, and we will elaborate the topics, whatever is relevant to us, to the roles that we are playing. We may have a lot of roles like being a mother, being a wife, for our own self, for being a daughter, or as a community leader, what we are trying to do. Everything boils down to certain dimensions of life, okay? Whether it is concerned to your own self, your passion, your interest, your physical capacity, mental capacity, emotional tank, and all that. And it's the same thing applied for others. There are only two components in life, right? Either yourself and others. How are you, bridging that gap, and how are you in harmony with these two components? Okay. So we will select those topics like productivity. When it comes to emotional intelligence, productivity comes under emotional intelligence because it is our ability to manage our time, energy, and the brain power in harmony, so that we have that kind of a time freedom based on the choices that we are able to make. If you are productive, that means your ability to manage your time, your ability to manage yourself, and the ability of you making the right choices is actually on track. That is the reason you're being productive. Imagine it is also an ability of how you manage others around you. Suppose you constantly have a relationship problem. It could be with parenting or spouse or any other associations. You may not be able to peacefully work. Okay, we spoke about different models in productivity, but that's not going to be possible practically. Even though there's a lot of learnings for you to apply, all these components has to come in harmony. Okay. When it comes to emotional intelligence, not just productivity, it is also more into relationship. And then when it comes to relationship, parenting, spouse relationship, and then self-care. So we're going to, see all this. And then if you're into business, then how do you manage your team members? How do you build a community? And then, if it is, you necessarily don't have to step out. But if you are part of a larger community, then how do you manage those people needs and demands and expectations? And then we will step on to understanding emotions deeply. Why are they, and then what are they suggesting us? So, and when we are able to be in sync with these two, is when we can think about contributing something to our family, right? Of course, we are contributing everyday basis, but then when it comes to handling or contributing in terms of monetary effects, that comes, if you're an employee, it goes hand in hand, because if you're in employment, you're working and then juggling with your own, chores without getting overwhelmed. So that's the secret of it. But if you're stuck in some areas, you may have to go back and think, what is the root cause of it? Ultimately, they say the peace and the job satisfaction and all those terms that you want to call, it is all bounded to a particular emotion. Okay, that emotion could be different from you and me. Essentially, that's what we will see. Okay, once you are aligned with those your values, inner values, and your needs and wants, and then in alignment with other people around you, their values and needs and wants, then you are in full sync. Okay, only then. I'm not saying only then you can start making money. No, you can, when you're in employment, it is going hand in hand. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start something, that also can happen. But then eventually you need to juggle. So the whole topic that we are trying to understand is, we're all in the roles. Okay, we are actually working on roles, but are we effectively there? Do we have that effectiveness in terms of managing ourselves, the decision making that we are into, managing our time well, managing our health well, well-being well, or relationship well? Do we have that kind of an effectiveness, personal efficacy is what we are trying to achieve from these calls. And of course, these calls are free. These calls are live interactions. When we have a lot of people, then we get a lot of ideas. And if you're not able to attend, it's totally fine. You can always watch the recordings. And I'm going to show you what we have for you this week, and then continuously what is the format that you can expect this. I mean, this series of calls. If you're already been there in the previous episodes, it could be a recap. But if you're newly joining in, then it should be something that you would have to know, because only then you will get an idea about how we want to structure this entire thing. Okay, it's a continuous learning program. I've broken down into weeks for next 1 year, and then it boils down to 52 weeks and then 78 hours if you're planning to interact on every Saturdays, preferably. But if there is an emergency or family needs and festive modes, so everybody has their life takes over. So that can also happen that I will have to host it in the following week. But the idea is to have a continuous learning. Okay, so boils down to 78 hours if you're meeting 52 weeks, an average of 78 hours that you're spending for your own self, for your improvement. That's a great step. And the reason why it happens as a format of peer learning is not many people can join at the live calls because it is quite demanding. Because you need to arrange your schedules. It is not just on you, because there are a lot of people depending on you. So you need to arrange. A lot of moms who attend call, they attend the calls from their, the classes, outside the classes of their children on Saturday morning, or even the grounds. So the children will be playing and then the moms will be on the call. So, or somebody could be in the kitchen and then they will listen, they will participate how much ever they can. So kudos to those people who are taking an effort. So that means it shows that they're committed to something, some changes in their life. Okay. It is equally important for us to also have this peer kind of a learning where we come out and share our opinions and perspectives. So it could be a great platform for taking multiple perspectives. We all have common problems. This is exactly what I decode. We have been doing this call from April 2022. I'm going to show you the repository of calls that we have done. Quite amount of interaction that we have done on various topics, starting from schools, lunch recipes, lunch boxes, neighborhood, vacation, classes, parenting, and then we ventured into deep awareness topics like financial instruments and emotional intelligence, for that matter, or online business ideas. We've spoken a lot. Okay, now we've taken a good amount of feedback from our moms who have been active. We even ran a 12-week of hackathon apart from these calls. Like we were trying to create a lifestyle habits as a hackathon, as a practice, like a healthy competition. So starting from morning, we will record our activities, and then the entire WhatsApp group was buzzing with a lot of activities. And then finally, we celebrated our winners. So we did quite a amount of work, and then we eventually rounded off to some, education aspect, whatever is relevant to moms, and hence this kind of webinar series had happened. Of course, people who were able to jump in, we still have a lot of interactions during the call, which has all been recorded. And since it is personal perspectives that has been shared, that is the reason it's not going out of this place. It'll all be inside a community space. And today I'm going to give you a preview for those who are watching this recording or who come alive for this call. You will have a preview of what is going to be available for you for a lifetime access. Okay. And the format of these calls will be to give you the better awareness at the first place, and then make it an informed decisions. We all need to be informed, right? We need validation. We need to be informed. Even my child, one of her stress area is, if she's not prepared, she gets hurt. If she's prepared, her half of the stress is already gone, because the rest of the half is based on her capacity, how to handle it. But are we going to be prepared for all the time in life? No. Risk taking is there. Emergencies are always there. Life is full of surprises and changes. The more that we are trying to be informed about a lot of things, that means we are open for awareness. And then when we start looking at it, the moment you open up, everything around you, whatever you want to plan, or you want to, your aim is about seeking something, your retinal activation system, so we call it as RAS. That means you're open. See, for example, if you want to buy a car, the next few days, if you have a deep longing for something, that's what my spiritual master says. It could be a car, it could be material thing, or it could be something, a bigger, larger than life demands. Whatever it is, if you have a deep longing, if you have a deep thought, okay, car is an investment, house is an investment, or getting into some college is an investment by itself, right? It needs a lot of thought process, effort, and time and resources. So when we are deeply thinking about something, the entire body, the molecular system, helps you be aware of what's happening around you and gets you that kind of a clue. So that is activated. The system is activated for you to notice. And if you may have experienced this, let's say we are talking about buying a car. The next few weeks, the following days, you'll be able to see the sight of cars more than anything else. It's a similar case with any other dimensions of life. If you're different stages of life, you may have the needs and wants could be different, but the process is simple. The more deep you have a thought, because you have to be clear. Today's topic is to have the clarity, because without clarity, confidence it's of no use. But if you have a clarity, the confidence can naturally be built. Similarly, for you to make a better choice, you need to be aware of what is there outside you, inside you, so that when you'll not be hit by surprise at any point of time. At least you're informed. Okay, rest of it, you may want to test and trial the next time, and it will definitely kick in the next few trials, right? So after better choices, Once your ability to be aware, you know exactly where you want to go. And if you do not know the destination, even your phone, Google Map is not going to help you. That's a different topic. That's the, I would say that's the first thing that people have to know. It's not goal setting or, having a vision is not the last one. It's actually the reverse. Okay. You need to know the end results. Only then you can travel decently well. You need to know the destination. Only then you can actually start something, start somewhere. Okay. So your results, once you have that awareness, once you know exactly what you want, and then pros and cons and all that, because you're able to evaluate when you take decisions. At the same time, you are able to take a risk and then go, because you know you've already weighed it. You would have heard about the same decisions what other people are taking. So you kind of have that kind of confidence. Okay, look, I'm not the only person who's going through this problem. That is one convincing factor. The second thing is, how have they dealt with it? You're not the only person with that only problem in that life, right? A lot of people would have gone through that problem, many different stages of life. So the beautiful concept of community is like you're able to, get that aspect as well. We saw how we can create awareness when it comes to productivity. And then we quickly jumped on to how do we create productivity? Without skills, it is not possible. We saw time management and then under focus and concentration. Because as I said, productivity means time management. Time management means focus management. If you don't have a focus, then there is no time managing at all. Now, even under focus, there is something called attention span. I gave you a statistics in the beginning that 25 minutes a person is able to be attentive or something. That's a great achievement. Across USA, they've taken a study that every 11 minutes, the person gets distracted. Imagine the attention span. That is why you see all the reels stuff come. More than the long format like this, people venture into reels because they don't have time. They're impatient. And how sadly it is reflecting in their life, we do not know. So the stress for the kids, the adult is passed on to kids, and then the kids is passed on to adults because even they don't have a time, attention span. So we saw 2 books for this. When it comes to creating awareness, we saw deep work. In fact, we are going to see 2 more books within this course. We also saw dopamine nation is something that I'll pick it up at the last of this distractions call. Dopamine detox is something that we will see. And in the earlier calls, we saw pillars to become indistractable. But initially, we saw what are all the distractions. Without knowing what is the distractions for you, you cannot know how to become distractible from it. Today, I'm going to give you that recap as well, but in a different context. Okay. So now we saw about, internal triggers, external triggers. But today we will see how to have a dopamine detox. The reason why I picked up this is because dopamine is as a natural hormone, which is created by the body by naturally. Okay. It is created based on the neurotransmitters from the brain. Okay. But you know how easily we are destroying it. That is what I want to let you know. Those are all the dopamine addictions that we are creating. We are creating those addictions from externally instead of internally creating it. So how is it affecting productivity is what we will see initially. And then when you go deeper into it, I will also show you what are the best ways to create dopamine levels naturally. But when it comes to dopamine detox, you need to be clear. Detox is nothing but you're taking a fasting. Simply like how we can, think about how when you fast, how it is useful for the body. Similarly, when you do a detox on people, you can get away many things negatively. Negative people can also be taken off from your, from your day-to-day life, and thereby your thoughts are becoming positive. At least, if not positive, at least you're reducing that negativity effect. Similarly, dopamine detox is also equally important. Now, when you go, I would rather say we took the assessment in the WhatsApp group of answering if you have this kind of a, addictions that you want to take your phone all the time whenever the notification comes. Even there is no notification, you pick up your phone. It is more of an addiction. If it is in moderation, then no problem. But if it is an extreme, then it is an addiction. Okay. Similarly, we saw a lot of things like smoking, caffeine, drinking coffee in the morning. Without a coffee, people cannot work peacefully. People even cannot talk peacefully or smile at each other. How many of you have live examples like this in your family? Or maybe you could be one. So this is sadly the situation for us. Okay. So this is an awareness about, this is more of a self-reflection that you have to do. But when it comes to why do we have to detox? Because when you are detoxing, that means you're avoiding those things from your life for a certain point of time. But when you do that, it is increasing the ability to focus on yourself first and on the work, the task that you want to do. And it also increases self-motivation. It is regulating your emotions in a huge way you will not understand initially. But the more you are able to do, let's say you're avoiding coffee, okay, from 4 times in a day to only 1 time. Okay, that's a huge thing for somebody. If you're able to do that, your body will respond to you appropriately, you will get to know the effect of it, not immediately, not overnight, but you will see what are the changes it is affecting you. It is impacting you very, very naturally. Okay. And you will have a self-control and willpower. You should do the other way around to check what are the impacts of a caffeine. A person who has not been introduced to caffeine intake for, I'm saying everybody can drink a coffee or a tea. I'm not saying no for it. I mean, that's not the way how we look at it. But then a person who doesn't have that habit of drinking too much, you can go and ask them. If you start cultivating if you start giving them more coffee and tea in a day, you will have them say, the effects of how their body is actually changed. Their mind is like racing. I'm a typical example of this. I really felt the more I started taking coffee, especially the American blended coffee is so very effective, so very thick, and it gives you that instant energy. I really felt something happening constantly here. Even when I want to sit relaxed, it's not letting me. So that's because I'm not a caffeine person at all. When I say at all, no, I mean occasionally, because I'm not into too much of caffeine. But when I'm introduced to it, when I'm stepping into that addiction mode, is when I started realizing, no, this is not working out. So your body will be an indicator for you. Okay. And you can have, when you do a detox, it gives you the calmness, the patience levels, and it can give you a life satisfaction in your specific goals. Okay. You will have an achievement and fulfillment. How are we going to do this detox? Okay. So the first thing that we will do is find the distractions. Now you see, I have gathered distractions in internal and external way. Okay. Because distractions is both inside us and outside us. When it comes to internal triggers, it is psychological. That is when somebody is getting bored. Naturally, they will get to distracted. So we spoke enough about in detail about boredom. It is very pathetic to see even the adult. They are unable to resist the stimulant that they want to take their phone. When they, in our childhood days, we were bored to core. We were like, bored is the only word which comes out of us. But we don't want to say that because anyway, we don't have any other distractions. We could hardly watch TV, and then we were always on the roads and doing something or the other. We were exploring stones, grass, flowers, whatnot, trash. Okay. But it also showed a lot of creativity, exploration in us, adventure in us. That's the reason our childhood is evergreen in us. But if you want me to, if you just ask a child who's born, let's say after 2000, the millennial child, whenever the gadgets are introduced, go and ask that child, how far can they imagine, how far they can recollect their childhood days? They'll struggle to say because their attention span is taken off with a simple gadget in their hand. So the brain itself is giving you that leverage when you allow it to be idle. Idle time is actually can be utilized for building your creativity. And then when somebody is lonely, obviously, they will take this, they will immediately look for a distractions. Somebody is fatigued, tired, yeah, they would just, sometimes when I overwork, I look for that kind of a distractions where I just go into some other zone because I simply don't want to carry anything in my brain. I just want to let it go. Uncertainty in life will make the person go imbalanced. At the same time, they cannot focus. So due to this, they just want to wait and wait, or maybe they just want to, distract away from the effect of uncertainties. They don't want to take actions. They don't want to face it. They don't want to handle it. So they may look for distractions. Reactions to emotions, yes. Somebody is very anxious. They don't know how to react. So either they will explode or, they'll become quiet. When they are becoming quiet, they get bored and then they eventually take their phone on hand. Family problems, yes. When there is a relationship issues, you just, I told you in the beginning that productivity hampers because of the relationship that you have within yourself and outside. Including too much on plate, that is something we all have a problem as a woman. We're all greedy in the sense that we want to handle a lot of things on our everyday life. But if it is focused and if it is, there is a certain amount of discipline to it, there's a amount of planning and thinking and strategy to it, then it is wonderful. That means you're living with your fullest potential. But we are not able to, that means you need to reduce it because that's the reason we get burnout. That's very important to notice. And it is very easy for somebody to, when they are burnout, then it is very easy for them to distract and their momentum is lost. Need to be appreciated, feel loved. This is also coming up because your emotional tank is not filled. So you always look for validations and hence you go for distractions. The best thing that we all have is another hand, right? A phone, mobile is like another hand for us. It gives you the right kind of distractions whenever you want. So that's why people get easily trapped to it. Too many distractions is also distractions, right? You don't know how to come out of it. That's the reason I discussed in the previous call that knocking off your notifications from your phone settings. That's the best way. Chattering mind as in, everybody has this problem, but then you need to calm down, you need to do some practices, or the best way is to discipline your schedules. The moment you know exactly what you need to do in a day, I think less of distractions, right? So a person cannot be thinking as to, say, if you already have a plan, you might as well want to just go ahead and do it. So you will not have a chattering mind. I'm not saying at all, but then it can be reduced. Self-doubt, again, you just have to do what is needed. If you have the right kind of a plan, keep doing. External environment will keep, punching you hard, will keep giving you all the clues that you're not worth, but we need to go on. But is it a distraction? Yes, definitely a distraction for them. It makes you think and think and think and then lose time. Negative thoughts, yes. External validation, as I just said. Fear of failure or fear of future, that is also makes you think and think and think and not take action. Okay. Insecurities, yes. A lot of, insecurities in terms of, let's say you don't have right kind of friends, or you have your own flaws, you do not know how to communicate, or you become too sensitive about your own self. And, insecurity could be in relationship, could be in your own, goals that you want to achieve in your path. It could be many things. It could also be self-blame, not just blaming others. It could also be self-blame. That is also insecurity. Perfectionism syndrome, somebody has it. I had it earlier, that I need to get things done in a particular order and then not having anywhere slipped out. Right now, I'm embracing my own imperfections. Everybody is human. To be human is to, make errors and then rectify it, learn from it, and then not do it. That is more important. They did not say that. To err is human. But then to rectify and then not be able to do is also, not repeat is also human. Okay. Peer pressure, as I said, FOMO and all that is actually creating a lot of jittery in ourselves. So we need to be able to overcome it. Environment, negative people around you. That's why I said detoxing from people is also equally important. It could still be your own family members. You need to be aware of it. But of course, family, you cannot avoid. You can reduce, though. You can reduce the proximity, but you cannot avoid. That's why I said relationship is also important. Neighbors, demanding friendships like potlucks, invitations, rituals. One thing I realized that I cannot be in all parties because it is just taking away my time freedom, my energy, my quality time with my family. And the amount of work that needs to be, doing after all that is actually, heavy, and then it is breaking my momentum. So I decided that I find only the like-minded and then be part of it. It is okay to find, your close friends cannot be, pile of them. It can only be few, and then it is good to be it is good to be contributing to only those people, so that at least that gets stronger. If you find an honest friendship, if you find a genuine person in your life, you just have to grab it. Hardly you will find them. When you find them, you just have to grab it and then hold on with them. Instead of you searching for a lot of people, all you have to do is just work on those few people whom you can build and contribute to each other. Weather, of course, right now, if it's too cold, I won't be able to talk freely, and then I have to wear all that and make sure that environment is good, the noise and the light and everything. Otherwise, it's going to be interrupting my production. Cluttered space is also something that we have to look at it. Wardrobe is another big area that women has to be really be careful. I would say that's the most, I would say, time-sucking area, okay, for us to choose. So I learned this from my friend. In fact, I didn't know that I was doing this naturally. Looks like, every day has a particular color. In our tradition also, so if you know that sun has yellow denotion, the yellow color denotes sun more, right? The light and the positive energy. And then certain planets like Tuesday belongs to, I think, Mercury or somebody, that it remits green in nature. So the planet itself is remitting that color, so that day belongs to them. And then similarly, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. Mondays used to be white in color, because maybe they usually all the Mondays in many schools in those days, that we all have Monday as a white uniforms, and maybe it reflects certain reasons, maybe with the planet or with the surroundings. I don't know, but this is what I learned from my friend. So I'll get you the details about the 7 days, 7 colors. So it'll be nice for us to categorize. Of course, he's a top celebrity, and then he's a man, so he can have few choices. But for us, it is important that we need to have a lot of add-ons to ours. But then I know it is difficult for us to narrow down and minimize. But minimalism is the way. That is the only key for you to get the time freedom. Digital detox is something that we spoke in detail about, how easily the digital format, the platform is giving us the effect of being distracted. So using TV series, social media, phone notifications, news, even a news alert could be a distractions, right? Emails, calls. One call will ruin the entire day or will take your time. One email is good enough. You replying to that email is more than enough for you to ruin your entire day and then following days as well. Group chat, again, visual cluttering, yes, desktop notification, whatever notification comes, whatever tabs you open on the desktop, and then whatever files you have on your desktop. We had this desktop policy in our company when I worked with two big brands. Both of them had this desktop clear policy that in their desktop, both for the space and the memory capacity of the laptop gets reduced because of too many files, especially on desktop. You can always put that in the C folders. But the other way to look at it is because when it is decluttered, it's simple and clear for the mind to work on it. Okay. And then let's come to type of dopamine that we are actually talking about addictions, right? Externally, how we can stimulate. One is about drugs, substances. That itself is a chemical thing which is readily available, which is giving you an instant consequence of it, instant effect of it, and then the consequence will also be, anybody can say, because it is instigated from external, it is having a huge consequences. Okay, caffeine is also an external stimulation. It is a stimulation by itself, so it is good to avoid. Caffeine can also cause acid reflux, which can spoil the cells both in esophagus, that is your passage, the food pipe, and as well as stomach and intestines and so on and so forth. Okay, I've had people who had cancerous cell, which is not the history from their family, but it is based on poor lifestyle habits, like too much of intake of spice, oily, and then caffeine is leading them to have a poor life. I mean, in terms of poor health, leading them to have a poor health, basically. Nicotine, extreme habits of sex. Sex is a stimulant. It could be used for, once I went to my gynecologist, I heard her say that minimum amount of sex is equally important for the bodies to the women after 40 years. They get into the midlife crisis. Midlife crisis, I don't know why they have to say as a crisis, but then it's a natural progression for the body to have a reduction of certain hormones. So when you have the regular sex, in our tradition, they have beautifully said this in many proverbs. 2 months in a month, 2 times in a month, if you have that intercourse, it is both good for your mental and physical status of mind, both for relationship and physicality of women. When they reach the menopause stage, it is all becoming natural for them. It's not too explosive. Sometimes hormones can play a lot of nasty, things in our body and mind. We go cranky, we go explosive. All these things will be stabilized. Okay, this is an insider information, but you may want to research on it. But anything extreme is a stimulant by itself. Okay, impulsive shopping. Especially, I have friends who are adhered to their Amazon shopping or all that app, Temu app, and all that, right? Which is okay that you are getting a good deal. But then, are you addicted to it? Are you in the extreme mode? Is something that you have to look at it. Impulsive shopping is just for the sake of deals, just for the sake of shopping. People get into it. That is bad. Or impulsive shopping is like you go on a window shopping and then you get impulsive and you buy something which is unnecessary. And then when we talk about minimalism is when I will touch upon those topics. You will see how foolish it is to have a lot of things connected around us. Okay, social media, gadgets, unhealthy food is also another effect. Compulsive behaviors. So things like coffee in the morning is very important. There are a lot of people who can, vouch for this. But the best practice is to have some food, some solid food. Allow your systems to get activated in the morning. Don't stuff anything in the morning itself. Of course, you can't have stomach full in the morning. It is for a reason. So you need to do a lot of breathing exercise, get some sunlight, get some walk, get some body heated up, and then you feed it. Then it is good for the metabolism. And after you have good amount of food intake, and then you give them have a coffee or tea, then it is okay. But the moment when you wake up, even without having hydrated your body, you're putting the caffeine inside. It's a spoiler. It could be poisonous sometimes. Hot water bath. These are something that I've noticed that people cannot live without hot water. Back in India, it was not needed because the climate is pretty warm throughout. But if you're across the countries, across the world, it is important for you to watch over this because hot water will always dehydrate the body. Okay, that is the reason we are applying creams and all that thing. But naturally, the cold water is good for us, for both hands, face, and the entire body. When you're doing, at least have the hot water first, and then come out with the cold water after the cold water leaves. So that can at least maintain the balance of the body, because already the body is heated up, and then you go take a bath in the hot water. When you come out, it is all the more heated up, right? The inflammation is more possible in the body in such a state. You need to cool down. Eating sugar after meals, that is also a compulsive behavior. I've noticed even sometimes when there is a stock in the fridge, right? It is not just for kids, even for adults. When you see something available, you go and grab it. I have watched this that certain times when it's not just after having a spicy meals. It is even without having a spicy meals. Sometimes I tend to crave for sweet. So when I looked at it, when I went and researched, I think it's most of a deficiency of some minerals in it. It could be magnesium or potassium. I'm not very sure. I found out, and then I told myself, okay, let me add those food items which is high in, which gives me a balanced proportion in all minerals, so that I'm not deprived of anything. So that is the reason I go and look out for some distractions, right? In terms of eating food. So when I decoded that, I came to know that this was also substantiated with the blood report. So I checked with my doctors, and they suggested some natural food items. So it isn't right proportion, but then sometimes you go for sometimes you want to have something which is totally fine, but make sure that it's not going extreme. Spicy, oily. I had friends of mine who saying, they their husband will buy bottles of oil and then they measure it. Okay, they say one bottle in a week, not more than that. And then the wife comes and say, no, 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 this is a festive times and it is already over. Why did you buy? So they're kind of restricting on the supply of oil bottles. For us, right? If you believe me, I've not fried a puri at home. I've not done a samosa at home at all. I don't know why, because when I was a child, I did some research in the me and my mom were doing some talkings, and then doing a research on the oil which is left over after making a puri or whatever you want to fry it, and then the leftover oil cannot be used at all. It should not be used. It is more condensed, and it has its own saturated, unsaturated items which cannot be digested properly. So it needs to be thrown away. So my mom decided to make it all. I mean, we don't have a heart to throw it away. So either we will use it for tadka. Tadka, again, it's not recommended to keep it for a long time, because tadka, we are not going to use so much of oil. So we decided to reduce the oil intake. So we naturally went out for, we naturally seek restaurants for eating some oily or spicy foods like that. So this is the best practice that I have. Now that air fryer has come for our rescue, I think that is a beautiful way for us to avoid oil. And then anything and everything, when you're in US or any parts across the world, a lot of people have come out with frozen foods, and it can always be air fried. Of course, frozen foods have its own pros and cons, but this is something that we hardly do. So in fact, I have ventured into millets instead of rice and wheat. When we are having millets, it is giving you enough intake of a lot of other minerals and fibers, proteins, and etc. So once in a while, we are okay to have outside food or oil food or spicy food or processed food, which is still okay, which we cannot avoid entirely. But the whole point is to be aware of it, and then make sure that you're not in the extreme point of life. Okay. Acknowledge. The first thing that you have to do when you want to approach this, first acknowledge and admit that you have an addiction to it, and collect data about it. This is exactly what we did. If you're watching the recording or if you're live attending, this is what you will have to do. Okay. And then understanding objective of your consumption addiction. So the root cause of why you're doing what you're doing is also equally important. If you're having something which is extreme in your, which is stepping into an addiction mode, you need to really see why you're doing what you're doing. Usually it will be an emotion underneath. So bring that up. If you have the feeling chart, you want to label it, and you just see. Usually it could be an emotion, or it could be an ego that you want to satisfy, some needs and wants that has been buried, you want to take it out, or just for the sake of it you're doing, that could also be a distraction. Okay. List out problems that is caused due to the addictions, and then you will see whether it is needed or not. I would rather say, when you want to approach your distractions, right, when you want to come out of, a lot of moms, few moms that I have around me and then in the community have this problem of ADHD. For me, I don't get into too many terminologies. I will just state it as compulsive behaviors. So scrolling social media is compulsive behaviors, even for adults, for many of us. Okay. Sometimes when I'm talking about a lot of things, a lot of strategies and hacks, even for my business needs, I don't have the app actually in my phone. I just have to browse it. So I immediately know when I have to stop, because for me, it takes an effort. Even otherwise, sometimes I get lost. For me, easily 1 hour and 2 hours is lost. Despite of me being on social media for a business need, I get distracted in many other things. And that's why it looked like a monster for me. So I had to immediately decode and come out with what is helping me out. I put the screen limit, and then sometimes even when the reminder comes and then you just knock off everything. Even I'm not a perfect human. So I also go through a lot of things, but then you have to keep pushing yourself. So one thing I can say for somebody who has this compulsive behaviors in you, just ask yourself. I would rather say, if you have let's say a smaller child, okay, let's say your grandchild, whether you're a father or a mother, would you be able to recommend this to your grandchild? Hey, you know what? This is what I did in my childhood. Would you be able to do that? Right now, I told you what I did in my childhood. I'm proud to say, whatever I'm doing in my current day-to-day basis, I would rather share a personal experience. When me and my husband were talking, so we were trying to decode as to why there are compulsive behaviors in our life. Everybody has it, okay? Then we kind of wanted to understand, is it a good thing to share with my grandchildren? So suddenly something happened to us. We're like, no, this is a trash. How can we even recommend to our grandchildren? My child, why are we taking the grandchildren? Because my child is looking at us, is a live witness of it. The impact is more severe on her. But for us to imagine the legacy that we want to build, that is creating a scare in us. No, this is not what we want to, how we want to live. Suddenly everything shifted in us, and then we wanted to see how we can support our journey each other in a better way. Okay, you may want to look at this. Now, for you to, I told you, I promised you that we will go with a particular tool today, but let's see how much can we audit, okay? So that the tool can be given to you in a very simple snapshot. But you need to understand why we are doing